you geeks! The US cover of Wax and Wayne 4, The Lost Metal, was released last Thursday along with a new synopsis. So today I'm going to break down what Tor has said and provide possible theories into the plot. Of one thing I'm certain, this explosive finale will be a book to remember.
Remember, remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder, treason, and plot.
We will talk about the covers, the metal, the sword, the shield, and the dead man. All of which will contain spoilers through all released content of the Mistborn series and some minor Stormlight spoilers up through Rhythm of War. Also, spoilers for Zootopia and Man in the Iron Mask if you haven't seen those recently. The covers. The US cover is rather standard for the series, just Wax and Wayne on the front. Very much alloy of law. Wax, I suppose, is holding Vindication and one of his Starions, while Wayne is holding a dueling cane. It's nice to see he still doesn't do the whole gun thing. Their pose is supposed to be dynamic, but really, this is falling into the uncanny valley for me.
Do you remember that weird animation style in the early 2000s, where everything looked real, but nothing looked right?
But me disliking Sanderson's cover choices is really nothing new. Had I liked Elantris's original cover, I would have been a Sanderson fan 15 years ago. Anywho, behind Wax and Wayne looks like a city hall, or maybe Elendil's Senate building. Shout out to Animalia555, who pointed out to me that the Elendil Senate has a House of Lords and a House of Commons, which makes it basically the English Parliament, the like of which in Sherlock Holmes-type stories exist only to be blown up.
Only the lion remaining. Right here. Parliament.
Or attempted to be blown up. Interestingly, the Tor synopsis says, the set's tendrils now reach to the Elendil Senate, whose corruption Wax and Saris have sought to expose, and Bilmine is even more entangled. Wax discovers a new type of explosive that can unleash unprecedented destruction and realizes the set must already have it. On one hand, the discovery of explosives could be completely coincidental to the Senate intrigue plot, but I'm going to operate on the assumption that a discovery of explosives in the Senate building is what sparks the Senate intrigue. Why else would it be on the cover? Also, the cover's red color is indicative of corrupted investiture, or more specifically, the red mist we saw at the end of last book. Wax could see the world below, bathed in a calm, cool light. Below that hung a haze of red, all around, pressing in upon the world, a miasma of dread and destruction. So the cover indicates that Trell, or at least Trell's forces, will be arriving soon. We've never seen a shard try to move planets in a Cosmere book yet. In Stormlight, Odium is still stuck on Braze and is only projecting his influence onto Roshar. Trell could totally try and form a space cloud and consume Scadrial if he's really motivated. I'm sure Sando can do a better job than...
It is known by many names. My people called it Galactus.
Whatever that was. We also have the UK cover released a few weeks back. It shows silhouettes of, I presume, Wax and Wayne, along with a sword and a shield. The UK covers in past have been quite literal. Last books featured the statue of the Lord Ruler, who held the titular bands of mourning, revealed only in the Sanderlanche. And before that, Alloy of Law's cover had a train on it, which is unsurprisingly where the Sanderlanche began. Yet I have no idea what the image on the cover of Shadows of Self is supposed to be. Tor's release called it a mirror, which doesn't have any direct role in the plot. The sword and shield here are more figurative than literal indications of what will happen in the Lost Metal. The Metal. Thus far, the Lost Metal has exclusively referred to Atium, a pedestal displaying, oddly, nothing at all. The plaque read, Atium, the Lost Metal. Although a god metal, Atium can only be used by Mistborns and Atium Mistines. Lerasium is a god metal which anyone can burn. Sanderson has said he would change this if he made a movie adaptation, but he has also given several cute answers on why Atium is weird. It was largely used in Era 1 when Lyra stole a chunk of Ruin's power and hid it in the pits of Half-Sin, which are currently under Elendel. The holes in the walls that he had used as handholds had once been overgrown with crystals, and within geodes containing a bead of the lost metal, legendary Atium. He was climbing the pits of Half-Sin themselves. If Atium is truly going to come back into play, does this mean that Trell will rip off a piece of Harmony's power and it will congeal back into this rare metal? Will our heroes have to go back to where it all began? What good would that do? Atium's only elementic power grants the burner the ability to see the future, hence why its Mistines are called seers. So I wonder, what Steris, who tries to anticipate everything, would be able to do if she burned Atium? All the way back in Alloy of Law, Marcy is adamant that Steris was not an Allomancer, yet Steris was targeted by the set for her allomantic potential.
The lady doth protest too much, methinks.
I really hope we see Steris tripping on Atium this book. The Sword. I think the sword and shield on the UK's cover indicates the working relationship between Wax and Marcy. The synopsis literally says, Wax must choose whether to set aside his rocky relationship with God and once again become the sword Harmony has groomed him to be. If no one steps forward to be the hero Scadrial needs, the planet and its millions of people will come to a sudden, calamitous ruin. Ruin is an interesting word choice for Scadrial. It makes me think that, yes, Trell's goal is to take the Shard of Ruin for himself, or at least get it away from Harmony, which cannot be good. I don't ultimately think Harmony is going to die, since this whole series isn't supposed to be super important to the main Cosmere megaplot, so things like putting a shard under new management doesn't seem likely. As for Wax, he usually doesn't like being Harmony's sword, but he usually gets over it. The Shield. My top unanswered question hanging from last book is, what is Harmony's plan for Marcy? Judging by the synopsis, I believe some time has passed since book 3, and she's now been promoted to detective. Detective Marcy Combs and her partner Wayne find stockpiled weapons bound for the outer city of Bilming. A new lead. Conflict between Elendel and the outer cities only favors the set. With Wayne as a partner, this is going to be excellent buddy cop fodder.
Sly Bunny.
Dumb box.
Perhaps on a road trip to scenic Bilming, which has unsurprisingly fallen to Trell. Bilming, the port city of West Elendel, was the only major one in the basin besides Elendel itself. If conflict did come, they'd be spearheading it. Bilming was also building big honkin' warships last book, so maybe they will come to Elendel in a twist that I'm now expecting.
Nobody expects the Spanish
Armada. To hear the English tell it, the wind and God was on their side, allowing small ships to outmaneuver the big ones and sink them before they could land. Yes, that, I think, has all the hallmarks of a proper Sanderlanche. A Sanderlanche where Morrissey will finally have the opportunity to step up and become Harmony's shield. She generally takes a more defensive role to Wax's punchy, shooty role. And she, unlike the Conjurer, can openly influence Scadrial society, which sounds cool, except this raises the question of how far will she go to defend? Morrissey is recruited by off-worlders with strange abilities who claim their goal is to protect Scadrial at any cost. We know her connection to Alec also ties her to southern Scadrial, where the Lord Ruler, aka the Lord of Scars, aka Kelsier, has been setting up the Ghost Bloods, an intercosmere society of questionable ethics and effectiveness. Morrissey is also a survivorist, which means she worships Kelsier as a god, so she is likely to find the Ghost Bloods' mission quite alluring. And I can't help but drawing a comparison between the Ghost Bloods and the reputation of the Jesuits in the 1600s.
There are three weapons: fear and surprise and ruthless efficiency and an almost fanatical devotion to the Pope.
Jesuits tasked themselves with ridding the world of the Protestant heresy and became known in England as a secret organization who organized the gunpowder treason, aka Guy Fawkes's attempt to blow up Parliament. Whether or not this reputation is earned is a matter of no little debate, but I predict that the Ghost Bloods will live up to their reputation and be the secret society who tried to blow up Elendel Senate. It's going to be fun to see Morrissey decide how far she is willing to go and just what her faith means to her, as she is forced to choose between her god and her people. The Dead Man. Era 2 is clearly not a direct retelling of the Three Musketeers on Scadrial. However, I've noticed distinct homages to the classic tales in each book. First, there's Elendel's Parisian layout. Then there's the parallels between Lessie and Milady de Winter, the lawman's lover, servant of a major religious figure, and most importantly, killed twice by the lawman's own hand, which makes Wax very Athos-y. Also, the whole counterfeit cufflinks caper handled by Gentleman Jack in the broadsheets is vaguely reminiscent of Milady de Winter's great caper in the Three Musketeers. She stole the Duke of Buckingham's diamond clasps, which were a gift of the Queen of France, and then the Duke needs to have forgeries made. It's all very ridiculous and is generally replaced in the movies with something more interesting.
You will carry this treaty to the Duke of Buckingham.
You're making an alliance with England?
The king has left me no choice.
A satirical broadsheet retelling of this tale, complete with a challenge for a duel due to mistaken identity, is really the perfect adaptation. Next, in Bands of Mourning, we meet Alec, who seems a lot like the Man in the Iron Mask, if you ask me. Beneath the scary mask is just the most adorable Leo, good-natured gentleman, whose adventure is mostly Aramis's doing. On Scadrial, Morrissey has a thing with Alec, making her very Aramis-y. Not to mention, Morrissey is an anagram of Aramis.
Too many secrets.
During the Man in the Iron Mask arc, Aramis gets involved with the Jesuits, who of course live up to their reputation because it's fiction. Aramis becomes their commander and lives craftily ever after. I suppose Morrissey could do something similar? Based on Milan's reputation as the tank, I'm casting her as Porthos.
I sound like a guy. A really buff guy.
Well, Toph, what you hear up there is the truth. It hurts, doesn't it?
Are you kidding me? I wouldn't have cast it any other way.
And she can outdrink Wayne anytime. Leaving Wayne to be this series' D'Artagnan. Wayne is the country bumpkin who comes to town, beginning the whole adventure back in Alloy of Law.
I just got here. How am I supposed to become a musketeer if they've been disbanded?
I'd say you've got quite a problem.
He is the one who spends too much time mooning over an unavailable woman. The Disney version leaves out the fact that Constance was super married, while D'Artagnan was infatuated with her. The Musketeers have other adventures, but only the Milady de Winter and the Iron Mask arcs are iconic. In the book, only Aramis survives their final adventure. Yet D'Artagnan's death is what makes it into the film adaptation.
All for one. One.
Wayne just got an entire prologue devoted to making him likable again, after he spent most of last book being an unlikable turd. I've seen other people predict Wayne will die, but I haven't seen anyone use this reasoning. I hope this gave you plenty to remember before the book comes out next November, when I will be reviewing it on this channel. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you would like to see more. Your patronage is greatly appreciated.